And we are live. Do you have any
Alrighty.
spiritual thoughts for this week?
Dude, I don't. Uh, I can find one real quick, but I haven't prepared one. Uh, so if you have one, feel free.
I'm trying to think. I've just recently started listening to the Bible on my way to work. So I'm right now in the beginning. The Lord just created the earth. Talks about the sons and daughters of Adam and Eve, all the way down to Noah and the flood, um, which I found kind of interesting reading it in the sense of like how the Lord says He'll never again, you know, flood the earth to take out the wickedness of man, and it just makes me wonder because like to what extreme was that wickedness? Like it just like perks my interest because we always talk about how history repeats itself, and we talk about like the second coming and the amount of wickedness. Like, is the wickedness that we see today comparable to what it was then? Was it more? Was it less? It's just interesting, and I was just like some of the thoughts that I was having, kind of like all over the place. Um, but I guess like ultimately, like nonetheless, though, like we have His promise of knowing that He loves His children, wants to give them the opportunity to learn and to grow. And I know that's something I'm grateful for because I'm not perfect, and I guess ultimately my concern would I be one of the ones flooded? Um, but anyway, just a neat promise from our Heavenly Father, though, that I like.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. That is true. That's true. I remember it doesn't even really matter what stage of life you're at or how good or bad you're doing. I remember uh, when I was on the mission in Chile and that big earthquake happened. I remember like I was probably at the most spiritual stage of my life. I was doing the Lord's work every day, and it was one of those things where even like when it was happening, I was just like, "Oh man, like, am I am I ready? Like, if this is it, like, anyway." So I think that's cool what you said, but it's true. Like we always
Sure.
gotta be, I don't know, holding to the rod. That's for sure.
How long ago was it when you were in Chile?
Well, that was 2009. That the earthquake, or maybe it was the beginning of 2010. But I had been out
Okay.
for just a couple months when it happened. So, yeah, man, I'm getting old. I don't know how old you are, but it feels like it was a long time ago.
Well, I'm 25, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, I'm 20, just turned 26, so we're around
Okay.
the same age. All right. Well, I still haven't heard back from Michael, so
It's all right. We'll just keep moving forward. We'll talk about some of the stuff here.
okay.
What made Noodles and Company an attractive opportunity for Aaron Kennedy in 1995?
So what I said here, I just talked about how, I mean, there's a lot of different restaurants that, were sit-down restaurants that sold noodles, but I think what made Noodles and Company so attractive was just how convenient it was. It was quality food that was, quick and easy to get. And, at that time, I don't know. Have you ever? This whole case reminded me of. Have you heard of Cafe Zupas? It's almost like the same concept. They
Uh,
sell.
yeah.
Yeah, the soups and salads and sandwiches. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's a real simple concept, but they turned it into really quality food, really easy and fast, quick and easy. So that's what I think made them stick out, was just the convenience and to get quality food.
I'll agree with you. I think it's important to know too. They reference the fact that it's entering a market that they refer to as the fast casual, to
Mm-hmm.
where it's fast food, but you can enjoy a sit down opportunity. So you kind of find the best of both worlds. You get fast service, but better quality food, kind of like what you'd find in a sit down restaurant. And I think based on like the time frame, he finds a unique enough product, being that it's noodles, and he recognizes
Hmm.
opportunities that it can be used for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Lots of different styles and different things. So it makes it for a unique idea. But then, in addition to that, because of the set timing, there's no one else really doing it yet.
Hmm.
Around the corner is going to be like Zoe's Kitchen, Chipotle, Smashburger, a whole bunch of other companies that also recognize this unique like niche market of the fast casual. So I think that's definitely the advantage he sees in the beginning is just like, you know what, I have an idea here. And that from what I can see is kind of like the brink of the fast casual serving area. So
Yeah, definitely. Um, so what
what go
caused
ahead.
the oh, I was just reading the second one. So what
Yep, go
caused
for it.
the company's early struggles? Uh, why do you think so? I thought it was just in the first month they lost $18,000. In the next couple months after that, they lost $12,000. Um, what I noticed is that they were having a lot of problems with their operations and they were undercapitalized. So I just think that they needed to raise more capital and test the market in more than just one location. I think that was some of their biggest struggles early on.
I agree with you, and um, it's one of those things that you got to test the product, and we see that system of the business model evolving in more recent times with the business model canvas. Are you familiar with that?
Wait, sorry, what was that?
Are you familiar with the business model canvas?
Yes, I am.
Right. So, and that's kind of a term and tool that's more relevant, um, rather than the old, well, hey, put in place the best business plan and your idea will succeed. And that's kind of what you see here. He's like, he's got a product, he gets everything in order. Let's let it run. And it's like, no, 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 you can't quite do it that way. You need to know, yes, you have a cool product, but do other people agree? Do other people want it? You got to test the market, and like you're saying too. And it's more than just one place. You got to kind of get a feel from multiple places.
Hmm.
So I think they kind of jumped all on board, one area too big too soon. And like you said, they didn't have the right approach to it in the beginning. As things balance out, as the interest in the product grows, then all of a sudden things begin to turn around a bit for their company.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely agree.
Um, what role should franchising play in the company's growth?
Um, pretty much all that. I think first of all, it would mean that they wouldn't need as much capital up front to start. The franchisees, I'm just going to read it. It said franchisees need to pay a fee, and it can be a varying fee. Franchising is a license and trade agreement between the franchisee and franchisor. Uh, they stick with the business model or format then the franchisee has in place already. That way, that doesn't make sense. But pretty much what I'm just trying to get at is that the role it would play was they just wouldn't need as much capital up front, and it would just be more. It would be easier to have more than one location at the beginning without having to raise all that capital first. That's the main role that I saw.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely with you, and really, that's like the biggest advantage that they're really pushing for is this rapid growth to keep their competitive edge in this fast growing market.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm bittersweet. I don't know what direction to feel with it, as to what direction to go. I said it's better for the company to stay privately owned, but I mean, I'm open to franchising if it's the direction they want to go. I just think it's obviously a little bit more risky. You don't know what all the other franchisee owners are going to be like,
Mm-hmm.
or how they're going to manage. You do your best to kind of weed out the ones you do or do not like.
Yep.
And but yeah, ultimately it's money to where, you feel the need to grow rapidly, and but at the same time I feel kind of like, do you not believe in your market or your product? Sorry, do you not believe in your product? If you believe in your product, then let the product sell itself, sort of thing. That's the best kind of business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for that reason, I kind of felt like, you know, have some faith for the market or for the product, and then see if it continues to grow at the rate it's growing. I mean, it's already giving you 58 stores, and it does act like a multiplier.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like you go from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16. It's kind of doubling. So it's like, if that keeps that track record, they're already proposing another 32 stores this year, could be more. So it's like you almost double your stores in 1 year. Let's say you bring on another 60 or 70 the second year. It's rapid growth, yes, but you're kind of already seeing that trend, that rate establish itself.
Yeah.
Excuse me 1 second.
Yeah, you're good, man.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
You're good, man. No worries.
My son snuck into the room and is making noise in the closet. So
There you go.
anyway,
Oh, that's funny.
so I was getting distracted. So anyway, I was talking about having faith in your product, and really they talk about that. The two main elements they're concerned with are the unique culture that Noodles and Company offers based on their product and their service. But then the other element is the money side of it. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, that's a big burden to try and open all those stores. But at the same time, you stay in control. And you already found out from Aaron Kennedy, he is definitely a control aholic kind of guy.
Yep.
He doesn't like to give up control. He likes to have faith in his tried and true system.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand and I respect that. I'm like that myself. But at the same time, there's two elements here. There's a factor of trust, and if you trust others, because I truly believe that people want to be trusted. They want to earn that trust. And so if you trust others and give them the opportunity, they might surprise you. And you see that when he hires on his co-CEO and then continues to grow the company. And I think you get that similar effect when you bring on franchisees. Give them the opportunity to believe in your company. You're going to influence them on how you run things. They decide whether or not they want to be a part of that team as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if they believe in it, then let them do it, because I think they'll continue to carry those elements forward, and that would allow you to continue to grow. I think of Stephen Covey and his Speed of Trust book that he wrote, and his biggest thing is, or I'm sorry, I'm thinking of his son, Stephen M.R. Covey, and he wrote the book called Speed of Trust, and he brings out the fact, like, if you trust more, we can save time and money, or save time, which essentially means we make more money. And that's the case here, is that, we could grow faster. So timing, alone with also not having to spend as much capital up front. So there's definitely a lot of perks to franchising. The question is just whether or not can he handle giving up a little bit of the reins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much what you said. You kind of answered the fourth question as well, and I agree with all those things. And pretty much you talked about the pros to it, where being able to expand rapidly, and you could reach the target number of stores that they're aiming for in in the amount of time they wanted to. It's going to help them financially to grow. But what I really agree with you is one of the biggest risks is who are going to be your franchisees. So you literally answered the fourth question. and I totally agree with that. The biggest risk is kind of losing control of kind of like who you're appointing, even though you still kind of have a say in it. But I don't know.
Well, and that's
But,
just it too. I mean, you don't want to lose control of your image because that's what you're selling. You're selling your brand, and like you see, they have all the contracts that they can put in place to manage it. So it's like, hey, if you want to be a franchisee, then here's the contract. If you agree to these terms, great, welcome aboard. And if and so you set your own terms, and towards like, if you're worried about not good quality, what's your plan of action? How do we resolve it? What are the extreme cases? So I mean, you have that kind of a what do you call it, safety net to try to set in place, so if anything goes haywire, you know how to correct it. Um, you learn early on from like some of the struggles they had, entering some markets where they weren't known, and that is a element that they'd be faced with opening stores in new areas, and it's like that kind of takes time and capital, like you pointed out, to how well it's going to be accepted, and that's another huge financial risk. Whereas a franchisee would take that risk upon himself. An advantage to a franchisee as well is if he feels that you can open a store there, then I think that's an opinion worth taking because he knows the area, he knows the people, and he feels that there's an opportunity here. And so that's why he's coming to you saying, hey, I want to open your store here because I think it'll work. And so like you kind of get the research that you didn't have to do because he's done it for you.
Yep.
And that's, again, how you kind of save some time there. So I definitely think there's some advantages. It's just, like I said, I feel like the bigger question is, can you give up the trust? Do I think it's worth a little bit of trust and growing? Absolutely. And he's shown that. But does he have enough to take that next big leap in offering franchising? I don't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, would we kind of almost agree that it would probably be in their best interest because they have a good thing going as it is. I mean, just to not start franchising out, just keep it how it's going currently.
That's kind of my guess. I would say give it another year and kind of see what your track record is. I don't see you getting knocked out of the park in a year from competitors. That's just not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way you get some more traction. Even still, you're finally getting some momentum in your growth. Allow it to continue to go that way. They also brought on the factor of like, and I think this is what would be scary for Aaron Kennedy, is it's so much more than just trusting in a franchisee to manage it correctly. But then you also have more team players. Like they said, they would have to hire someone on likely to be at the VP level to manage just the finances alone from that group of stores. So it's like, great, now you've got another manager up top. And the whole thing trickles down from there along with other bodies in place. And it's just like, man, do you want to add that many more people? At the same time, that almost might be inevitable with growing to 300 stores. It's essentially you have an HR department and marketing and sales and all these other departments that are growing in order to keep up with that many stores. So you're going to see some growth no matter what. I think it's a matter of elements. So with that being said, it's like, I feel like that's an element they neglected in remaining ownership or remaining sole owners that they'd be likely to face regardless. So.
Okay. Well, as for the last question, or it's not really a question, but I'd be curious to see your Excel sheet because I
don't have anything right now. So
okay,
I was trying to work on something right now. My thing is, they give the projections, but I didn't really see very many numbers. I saw something that said it costs like $500,000 to open a store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
So
looking to.
obviously for 250 stores, you're looking at $125 million. That's a lot of money. I don't know if
Yep.
they're going to have quite those dollars. So you're obviously going to be taking out some debt if you're trying to keep up at that rate.
Yeah. What's the do you know what the company's net worth is right now? Sorry, I'm looking for it right now.
You're scrolling down. Oh. It is interesting to see that even in 2000 they were losing money still, and not till 2002, not till this last year did they finally make money.
Mm-hmm.
But they doubled 2001. 2001 was almost, I don't know how you evaluate that, from going negative $250,000 the previous year to positive over $250,000. I mean, it's a $500,000 swing. Yeah, it's tough. I don't quite see what numbers they're wanting us to project. I mean, I see the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the store operating margin of 80%? What does that mean? Do you know?
I don't, but I'm actually looking it up right now.
I don't know if that's saying of the
It's
300 stores they want to operate 80% of them. I don't know if that's what that means.
So I actually just looked online, and I actually see a previous group that had done this project. I'm just trying to see what numbers they used. One second. One second. Dude, I'm not finding it. I have
Well, the interesting thing is, I think these questions and numbers are given to like our class
Group specifically.
specifically. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know if they would be the same questions expected from other schools and so forth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, man. This is I kind of miss Michael because he usually has a pretty good explanation. Um, so
I can't tell if they're trying to say this is like their profit margin, which to me seems insane to be at 80%. Like that number doesn't make sense to me.
all right, so their goal is to what, have 300 stores, and
In 4 years.
in 4 years. And I don't know, what was the goal, to have half of them franchised and then the other half.
See, and I couldn't find that number, and I don't know if that's what the 80% pertains to, or if that is something else.
How many stores did they have by the end of 2003? Do you know?
At the end of 2002, they had 58.
Uh,
No. Huh? No. With your meeting or no? No. Oh, so yeah. What's up? Waiting outside your door essentially. He's not typing anything there.
all right, so on page 28, it says that they're wanting to add 32 stores on top of the 58. So that's what is that? 32 equals 90.
I don't know. It's like interesting too, because the one example that also comes to my mind is if you remember the case with Zoe's Kitchen, that was also in the same kind of market, and they're competing against like companies like Chipotle and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And what was interesting is they gave the example of Chipotle going public, And when they did, they were trying to also go mass growth, and in doing so, they ended up losing a lot of money because they grew faster than they should have. And that concerns me as well for Noodles and Company. Like, you know, what if you grow too fast? What if you overgrow the market and then you become saturated for your income? Then it's like you're going to be losing money just in operation and management rather than having an established market to feed off of.
Mm. Why is it their goal to grow to 300 so fast? Like, kind of to your point.
Because they feel that the competition, and that's where if you look at the Exhibit 10 on page 28, you see what some of the other competitors, how fast they're growing. And they say, man, if we need to stay consistent, otherwise we're just going to get overrun and everyone's going to want their products. But that's where, in my defense, I feel like have confidence in your product. You know, Chipotle is a Mexican food, Panera Bread, sandwiches, you know, soups and so forth. Baja Fresh is Mexican. It's like there's nothing even close to Noodles and Company. It's a very unique thing. You got like Payway, which is a Chinese deal. But again, I feel like these are all pretty unique places. I don't know if there's anything to really. I find Noodles and Company such a rather unique product.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, believe in your product. It's got you this far. Continue to ride it. Like, you're seeing growth. Continue to grow responsibly, avoiding that extreme debt that you're projecting. Remain in control. You're going to grow with the market accordingly to where you don't risk the same issues you faced when you first started out by going to markets that you weren't familiar in, which would be a potential risk. And that's where, like, if you go franchise, that's the only thing you're really trying to save on is you know, cutting down on the risk. It falls on someone else along with their capital. So I mean, that's kind of the main things that I am identifying. And then I'm trying to think of I have one more thought. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember. But anyway, those are just a few of the thoughts.
Yeah, dude, exactly what you just said reminded me of it was called Fresh and Go. It was just like kind of like a CVS pharmacy, but like they specialize in just like these all organic products and all this stuff. And anyways, they did exactly what you said. They just grew. Like, they were on every single corner. And this is down in Arizona. And I just remember, like, there was never people like at the stores, and like within 2 years they went completely bankrupt. So just because of that rapid growth when they weren't ready to grow that fast. So like, kind of like what you just said, that reminded me of what Noodles and Company is almost going down that same path, you know, wanting to expand by literally, what is that? Almost 1,000%. Is that what it is? Because they can't. No, not that much, but still, like they're growing so fast. You know,
I think it'd be like 600%.
600%. There you go.
So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know how to calculate those numbers. I don't fully understand. You know, if anything, you're looking at profit margins again. If you were to consider like 5% of royalties, I think they were saying the average store they tried to make like 800,000 on. So, you know, 1% of that would be 8,000. 5% would be 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, they're hoping to make $40,000 off of each store per year. So if you did just the bare minimum to where everything was franchised, it'd be 40,000 times 300. So what, 1.2 million or 12 million? It'd be 12 million a year, I believe.
Yep, that's what it is.
Okay. Whereas currently, and that's also like right off the top, which I'm not sure how royalties work, if it's right off the top or if it comes after like all the expenses are paid. I don't know. But otherwise, if they kept with where they're at, owning the 58 stores, probably likely owning 50%, then it'd be 6 million or 60 million. Now I'm confused. 300.
Yep.
Yeah.
60 million.
Okay, so 60 million a year from franchisees, and then your cut on top of remaining owner of the other 150. So I mean, obviously, there's a lot of money to be made there. It just, again, it comes down to the simple question of like, do you take the risk of allowing other parties to come in? Is that too fast of growth? And that's where I think, if anything, yeah, I'd say my suggestion is wait another year. Continue to see how well your company is growing. You're in the positive. You've seen growth. Allow it to continue to do so, and establish better if the 300 store goal is realistic and essential. It may not even be essential. That's kind of what I'm going for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm on the same page. I do not know how to do those calculations. But
Okay, no worries. I'll go ahead and give a quick summary then, and we'll call it good.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ben.
Yep. So in regards to Noodles and Company, we feel that their best position probably for now is to wait and remain in control of the company before offering franchisee. Our concerns for doing this were, we learned from Aaron Kennedy that he's the kind of guy who likes to be in charge and have things go his way. And essentially that's what's helped Noodles and Company grow and become what it is today. Opening up to a franchise situation would bring in other partners to manage and operate their own stores, which you would possibly lose some of that culture that you've created. However, at the same time, if you have people coming to you asking to be on board, they recognize the culture that you've created and they want to be a part of it. And so it's likely at the same time that they would help encourage it and bring it forward. But beyond that, some of our greater concerns were, their 300 store projection. Is that reasonable? Is it necessary? We brought up an example of Chipotle from previous cases where they were found mass growing and they overgrew, and suddenly it became too saturated. They began losing money. And is that going to be the case here with Noodles and Company? Are they trying to grow too fast? We recognized when Noodles and Company first started, when they were entering new markets, they weren't recognized. It's a very unique product, and for that reason, it took a little while to experience growth. Would that also happen, trying to reach all these different areas so quickly? Yes, again, if you offer a franchise opportunity, that burden is lowered because people who are in other areas, they're approaching you, taking on the risk financially along with the area. It would save some time doing your franchisee, because if someone approaches you, it's because they believe that you have good enough product that would be liked in the market, whereas you didn't have to do the research yourself. So that would be one element. But nonetheless, that risk is still there, and that would be the option. The other thing that we want to push for is remaining in control, is growing responsibly. Don't worry so much about the finances involved, but continue to believe in your product. If it is what it is, as we kind of recognize looking at some of the stores listed below as their competitors, they have a very unique market product that they offer, and if they continue to believe in their product, it's gotten this far. Maybe it'll continue to grow at the margin that it is, and allowing them to reach maybe 200 stores, but not be so far in debt, along with finding difficulties in new markets. Sound good?
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, we'll call it good. I'm going to stop the broadcast then.
Okay.